Hi, today I would like to tell you the story of Six Swans. This is an ancient fairy tale by the Grimm brothers. I hope you enjoy it. Long, long ago, there was a king who was ruling a beautiful kingdom. One day, he was hunting, and out of concentration, he went deeper and deeper into the forest and lost his way. As he was searching around, he knew that he was hopelessly lost, but eventually he saw an old woman who was nodding her head vigorously walk towards him. He stopped his horse and called to her and said, "Good woman, can you please let me know how do I go out of this forest and reach my kingdom? And I'm from so and so kingdom." So the old lady told him that you are hopelessly lost, but what do I get in return for telling you the answer? And then the king slowly thought and said, "I am really, really lost, so whatever you ask." He wasn't expecting her to ask something outlandish, but it so happened she did ask something outlandish. So she said, "I have an extremely beautiful daughter, so beautiful that she would make you a perfect queen. If and only if you marry her, will I tell you this path to your kingdom. If you do not marry her, you're going to be lost forever in this forest and would die of hunger and thirst." So the king at this point was a little worried about who did he interact with, and then after considerable thought told her, "Sure, I will marry your daughter, please let me know the way." So she took him to her hut and then let him know, and she called her daughter. Once she called her daughter, there came out a very pretty girl. He looked at the girl. While she was extremely beautiful, there was something about her that was off. The king, the moment he saw her, was a little worried and scared. But he had no way out. So as he promised the old woman, he carried the lady and then married her eventually. But it so happened that the king already was married and had 4 handsome young boys and a little daughter. He was very concerned that the lady, being the daughter of a witch, might have her own powers. So he also knew a good fairy. So using her help, he hid the 6 sons and the daughter in a castle deep, deep, deep inside a different forest. And the good fairy gave him a ball of yarn. And only if he used this ball of yarn would he know the path to the castle. Otherwise, nobody would be able to find the path to the castle. So every once in a while, the king would go out of his castle, take out the ball of yarn, and go visit his children. After a few years, the lady who he married, the witch's daughter, she was becoming a little curious. She was like, "Where does the king go away so many times? There is something that he's hiding from me." And because she was curious, she used a lot of money. She bribed all the servants and servant maids, and eventually one of them talked. And he'd spilled all the beans about where the king was going and about his children. While that was the case, they did not tell her about how many children he had and what kind of children. And they also told her about the ball of yarn. So one day when the king went away hunting, the lady or the queen, the new queen, who was also a witch, made 6 big shirts. And then she took the ball of yarn, went into the forest, found the children. The moment somebody was coming there, those kids thought it was their own father and they ran out of the house. So all the boys ran out of the house thinking it was their father. The moment they came closer, the new queen threw all the 6 shirts over them. And then all of them turned into swans. And she laughed very wickedly and went away, knowing that she has turned all the kids into swans, now that the king wouldn't go anywhere into the forest. So the 6 boys who turned into swans rose into the air and flew away. The little princess, who was seeing all this, started crying and feeling very, very bad. The next morning, her father came and she told him the story about what happened. The king, who knew the queen was so wicked, he was still helpless because she was so powerful and he didn't know what else to do. So he told the girl that, "Why don't you come back to the kingdom and I'll at least protect you?" She said, "No, that lady who came was not good. But daddy, I was so sorry. I'm very, very sad about losing my brothers. Why can't you let me stay here the night?" And the father went back to his kingdom. And the girl thought, somebody wicked did this to us, somebody who doesn't like us or my brothers, but father somehow doesn't know who it is, so I am not going to go back to him. So thinking thus, she left the castle. She left the castle in the night and then walked towards wherever she could go. After a couple of months, she reached a big hut, and in the hut she saw 6 cots. So she hid in one of the cots, or she hid under one of those cots, and then she was waiting for the morning to happen. She thought, okay, fine, let me spend the night under the cot. But in the night, in the middle of the night, 6 swans flew into the hut, and they suddenly changed into men. Looking at her brothers, the young maiden was so happy. She went, hugged them, and they were all in tears, and they were so happy. And she said, brothers, I'm going to stay with you forever. I'm glad I found you. But the brother said, no, sister, you can't stay here because this hut belongs to a group of robbers. Then she said, but you are here now, you can protect me. But the boy said, no, we are not here to protect you. We can only turn into humans for a quarter hour every night. And when we are swans, we can't protect you, nor can we remember you. And the girl cried back again and said, how can I help you? Can I help you at all? Can you ever turn back into men? And then the brother said, yes, but it's going to be a very, very tough task, sister. Maybe it'll be too hard for you. Please don't even think about it. The girl said, no matter how hard it is, I will do it for you. So the brothers told her, you cannot talk or laugh for 6 years. And then you have to make us shirts made out of tiny star flowers. Only if you can make that for us and put them on us will we change back into men. So, and then saying, they flew back away. So the young man resolved, okay, I have to make my brothers men again. So from that day onwards, she kept quiet, did not talk to anybody, went back into the forest, gathering all the star flowers and started making shirts. And anyway, because she was so sad losing her father and her brothers, she was not inclined to laugh either. So one day, as she was making her shirts, another kingdom's king passed by. He was a young prince. He and his entourage, a lot of other soldiers, they were passing by. And the maiden was sitting on a branch of a tree and she was making her clothes. They asked her, oh young maiden, who are you? Where do you come from? And the maiden looked at them. She couldn't speak. So what she started doing is she just nodded her head as if she could not understand. And they started questioning her about where she came, who was she, why was she in the forest, and if she could talk to them. For everything, she nodded her head, or she waved, she shook her head. But they wouldn't leave. So the girl thought maybe if she could give them something, they would leave her in peace. So she threw down her necklace, and she threw down her girdle and all her pretty clothes. No matter what she threw, they would never go. At last, all she was left with was a simple petticoat. So she couldn't do anything more at that point, and these huntsmen, they went up the tree, brought her down, and put her in front of the king. When the king looked at her, looking at how beautiful and pure she looked, he said, I'm going to marry this lady. And then so saying, he put his jacket over her and put her on her horse and carried her away. Carried away her to her kingdom and then eventually married her. But the king happened to have a wicked stepmother too. This wicked stepmother did not like this girl. And she was like, this girl isn't fit to be the king's wife. Where did she come from? He found her in a forest. Who knows what kind of people she came from? She is not fit to be a queen. So saying, she was trying to find ways to get rid of the queen. So after a year or so, the new queen, or rather the princess, she had a little baby boy. The old lady, or the stepmother queen, hid the baby, put some blood on the princess's face or the mouth, and then said, and told the king and everybody, said, she's a wicked woman, she ate her baby. And then the king did not believe her, knowing how the little princess was. The princess, who was committed to making her swan brothers men again, did not say anything, did not do anything, and she couldn't even protect herself, but she went on making her clothes. Another year passed, or a year and a half passed. She had another baby boy. The same thing happened again. The queen hid the baby and put some blood over the princess's mouth and said, "Oh, she is a baby eater. She is a witch. Get her out." But the princess couldn't defend herself nor say anything. But the king, out of his love for her, would not let anybody harm her. And after a lot more years, she had a little baby girl. And the same thing happened again. This time the king could not help anybody. So he said, "Fine, whatever happens happens." And then he put the girl to task. And they tied her to a stake. But by that time, it was the end of the 6 years, and she had all the 6 shirts, actually 5 shirts ready. The 6th shirt did not have a sleeve. And then she started crying and waiting for her brothers. As the evening came, all the 6 swans flew down, and she started throwing the shirts over them. And one by one, they turned into handsome young princes. Everybody was shocked and astounded. What happened? And then, when the kids turned, the last prince, however, had a wing of a swan still. And the young princess then turned to the king, her husband, and said, "Oh, my dear king, these are my brothers. I and my brothers are so-and-so king's kids. And it so happened that there was a wicked person who came to the castle where we were hidden and turned my brothers into swans. The only way I could turn them back was sewing them the shirts made of tiny star flowers, and I couldn't talk or laugh for the 6 years. That's why I couldn't defend myself. I never ate children. Your stepmother hid them. She took them away from me and hid them." So when she said that, the king was shocked and was very, very angry. Instead of punishing the princess at the stake, he put a stepmother at the stake, and the whole kingdom burned her. The princess and the king lived happily ever after, along with her 6 brothers. This is the story of the Swan Princess. I hope you enjoyed it. We'll meet again tomorrow with yet another story. Bye bye.